Hi everybody, my name is David Brennan with Safety Evolution. Today I wanted to talk to you about getting COR or maintaining COR with software. So a lot of people think about getting COR for their companies and they think it's a pretty difficult thing to achieve. And so we want to just dispel some of the myths about that process, how you can make it easier for yourself, and how you can actually use software to backstop your team and make it easier to implement and maintain your COR. So as you guys know, I worked in oil and gas for a very long time. Also first dipped into this with my own company that I started in 2006, and that was a line locating company. So that was my first foray into what it's like to get COR and to maintain it. And I still remember how stressful it was to try and get COR the first time, writing safety manuals and making sure that everything was getting done the way it was supposed to and following up and all that. It was quite labor intensive to be able to pull that off. So let's talk about that a bit. So nowadays you have a lot better tools, first of all, than back then. We have safety management software. It really makes a big difference in getting COR. But the biggest pieces with COR are that we're going to start with making sure that we have our safety manual, practices and procedures in place. You're going to have something called a formal hazard assessment. So don't be confused with those. Formal hazard assessment, they can go by JSA, JHA, which are job hazard assessments, job risk assessments, all these different acronyms. But really what it is it's a formal hazard assessment done by your company and your team to make sure that you've documented the actual hazards with the either positions or the major critical tasks that you do as a company. And the reason behind that is that that's your way of communicating to your workforce what the actual hazards are with the job that they do in a day. Very, very important. Put some time into those. They often get overlooked in how important they are in your day-to-day operations. But that's a big one. Then once you have all of your hazard assessments and your safety manual practices and procedures built, now it's implementation. You're going to need a hazard assessment form. You could probably run two of them, maybe a field level hazard assessment, a job hazard assessment, which would be like your overarching, we're going to be doing this work, so we want to have it's very similar to your formal hazard assessment, should draw from your formal hazard assessment processes. And then from there, you're going to need things like inspection documents, competencies for your workers, as well as safety meetings, toolbox talks, and all that good stuff. So lots of different forms, but they're easy to get. If you're in paper, any one of the governing bodies can help you out with that. If you're in software, most of the softwares, like our software here at Safety Evolution, come with them pre-built in, so you don't actually have to go and create a lot of this content. Once you have those forms, now you need to implement that. So COR can be quite a big process to go through, but it doesn't have to be that hard for you and your team. One of the cool things, if you come on board with a company like ours, is that you actually will have access to all of that. Our team has a huge amount of experience with COR and dealing with companies that are going through this process, so we can make sure that your system is up to par and that you actually have all the things that you need to do. So let's talk about why you want to do this in software versus paper. The big problems with paper is you're not going to know that you're behind, or you don't have maybe field level hazard assessments documented. You don't know if your inspections are done until days after the process. And so this can really cause a lot of issues later on when you go into your audit, because the auditor is going to come in, or prior to the audit, you're going to spend 2 weeks going through and making sure, first of all your papers filed and you have everything that you need. And then the auditor is going to come in and verify that you actually have that. Huge amount of work, okay? With the safety software, you know in real time if those documents are done. You don't ever have to file them. All you have to do to get your audit done, invite the auditor in the system. They're going to be actually able to go through, look at all of your workforce's tickets, all the paperwork that they've done, and really the only work they're going to have to do in the end is the question questions that they ask and interviews that they ask with your workforce to make sure that they understand the hazards and all the other things that are required by your governing body. So really reduces the cost of your audits, makes it really, really easy to achieve your core that way. And the final cool thing about having software is you may have been through a core audit before and you know this, but if you haven't, the final piece with your core audit is that you actually have to have an action plan that will allow you to show how you fixed the deficiencies that were recognized in your audit. Again, with a software, if you have an audit review form, our system will actually allow you to create corrective actions and follow it up through the year, so the next time you do an audit and the auditor says, well, we'd like to see what you did from last year's action plan, boom, it's right there for them to be able to see in the software. We all know that COR can give you a little bit of anxiety when you're first trying to get it, but just remember there's lots of tools out there and there's lots of help that can get your company up and running. So the big things to remember, make sure that you have all your safety manuals, practices, and procedures in place, that you have your formal hazard assessments, that you have your inspections, your competencies, and your hazard assessments, and your safety meeting processes built and up and running, that your workforce is trained and knows the hazards and all the things that they're going to ask you about in the interview section of your audit. And then the last piece is use safety software. It'll make your audit process way easier. It'll make the implementation of your safety program way easier, and you will save a huge amount of time and effort in getting an amazing core program up and running. If you'd like to learn more about it, book in a 15-minute discovery call with one of our team and we'll tell you all about all the things you can be doing. Have a great day.